business started of you thinking that I had been untrue. But if you think that we'd be been parted, it's gonna hurt me, but I break away from you. Yeah, just give me the sign, I will be gone. Yeah. That's how much I feel for you, baby. How much I need. I need your touch. How much I need. I live for your love. That's how much. That's how much. That's how much. That's how much. Sleep alone late at night, I'm dreaming of the togetherness that seems to believe in. Oh no, give it up, then I'll get some more. Like you had before. Take hold of my hand, I will be forgiven. That's how much I feel for you, baby. How much I need. I need your touch. How much I need. I live for your love. That's how much. That's how much. That's how much. That's how much. So you try to stay in the middle, and then you try just a little, then you won't realize just how foolish you've been. And you try to make amends, but you never understand. 'Cause that's how much. That's how much. That's how much. That's how much. How's your life been going on? I got a wife now. Years we've been growing strong. Oh no, there's just something that I got to say. Sometimes we make love, I still see your face. Just try to recall when we were as one. That's how much I feel for you, baby. How much I need your love. How much I need. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of my last video. I hope you all are doing great, and hey, welcome in. If you feel like joining me, welcome in. First and foremost, let me start off by saying I really do need to get a microphone because I feel like because I feel like every time I read this, I feel like I'm mumbling or something like that. But mean, people can't hear the words that come. People can't. They can barely hear the words coming out of their mouth. I swear I need a microphone for this because the thing in the microphone is, it's not like either I'm not projecting my voice enough, or maybe it's the microphone. But in either case, welcome aboard. I mean, this is the Spider 32 back in with another video, and I'm still going to be reading. This is the continuation of my last video. This is basically just MGTOW-Criticisms Part 2. And of course, I'm just laying out what this is basically just laying out what once again, this is an excerpt from an old channel. I mean, you can look at it yourself if you want to. But yeah, this is basically MGTOW just laying it all out for you. Yeah, this is what we are. This is what we do. This is what we're trying to fight. This is it. So, without further ado, let's begin.
One is forcing marriage or traditionalism. It's okay to advocate something as long as it is not being forced.
If the argument is forced by law, forced by gunpoint, then you're not forcing anyone to do anything either. But you sure take issue with our anti-traditionalism and our anti-marriage stance. Common law marriages in the West are a type of forcing marriage. In the East, in many countries, you have arranged marriages. That's another type of forcing. But beyond that, force being subjective. Yes, there is the forcing of marriage. But yes, there is the forcing of marriage by offering marital benefits to married couples. Religious enforcement of marriage, despite the fact, in spite of the fact that marriages spoken of in the Bible are not what is getting called marriage by today's standard. This would be forced by artificially constructive incentive, forced by shaming and social pressuring. While this is slightly off topic for this video, I just want to mention before I forget that perhaps a much needed. Oh, what's up, Shinobi Wan? How you doing? Come on in. All right. Well, looks like we got one. So let's see if old Uncle True is gonna come in, but probably doing something. But hell, I don't know. But let's begin. Oh, well, this is slightly off topic for this video. I just want to mention now, before I forget, that perhaps a much-needed modification to marriage should be considered. If a person's motive for marriage is to be in compliance with their religion, then perhaps marriages need to be bound by church rules. Church performs the ceremony and you agree to be bound by their decisions in a divorce. They get to decide when a marriage is or isn't eligible for divorce. The church decides the division of property and child rights and child payments and so on. Thumbs up. All right. Like I said, the church decides the division of property and child rights and child payments and so on. And the only role government has is enforcing. No need for marriage if love one another. Why need a contract with the state? Exactly, Shinobi One. Yeah, it's called. Yeah, why do that when you just cohabitate? Even that's exactly. No need for marriage if love one's another. Why need a contract with the state? That's what people cohabitate, and even that's going out the fucking window. Even in either case, the only role the government has is enforcing the contract between the married couple and the church. Church, in this case, representing any religious establishment authorized to perform a marriage, i.e., mosque, synagogue, church, pagan temple, etc. So long as the state validates it. marriage was all about property. Religion is trying to usurp as much power. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole fucking reason our religion's and that's the whole fucking reason our religion is bullshit, because it's a set of a subset standard rules and regulations in order for you to sit down here and it's been used throughout human history to justify crimes against humanity. Why don't you think about that? Now think about that. Yeah, think about it. Slavery, murder, etc. So in this case, let's begin. So as long as the state validates it as a legit religious institution, obviously, and grants marital power to the priest, rabbi, shaman, or whoever, it is now as it is now. The people are entering into a secular government contract of marriage that does not hold up to marriage defined by their religion, and they're doing it in accordance with their religion. But back to the issue of no one is forcing, simply by advocating. Marriage and traditional gender roles are the status quo. Even if they are decreasing, they are still the status quo. The normalization creates expectations, obligations through social pressure. It has often been stated that children born into an Islamic culture will be Islamic. People born into a Christian culture will be Christian, and so on. It is true that people tend to be very malleable. It's true that people tend to be very malleable creatures that adapt and conform to their environment and accept the expectations, value system, and overall reality that they're presented with. By virtue of this normality, it is a consistent pressure twisting the arm, forcing young men into bad decisions to meet cultural norms. Force is subjective and takes many forms. Peer pressure is a powerful force to manipulate people's decisions. Our legal system is a system that often conforms to social values, social norms. So the normalization of both marriage and traditional gender roles and traditional views on gender greatly affect court decisions and decisions within other institutions. If marriage wasn't such a normal thing that acts as part of our culture's value system, things like common law marriages. For thousands of years, royal bloodline gets rulership over world order. But the second son and so on cousin does not get a rulership with gold. The religion to obtain the game. Religion to obtain exactly. That's exactly Shinobi wanted. Hey, the thing's always. It's always open. The stream is open. Come on, man. It's open. Hey, the stream's open. Come on in. Okay. There'd be no need to ram marriage. If marriage was such a normal thing that acts as a part of our culture's value system, things like common law marriages that force cohabitating couples to be married wouldn't exist. There'd be no need to ram marriage down people's throats if marriage wasn't the status quo and a staple of our culture. We're fighting against this unfair institution. Every person that takes part in marriage normalizes it. Thanks, you got thirds, my brother. Just let you know that I'm not, just letting you know that I know that you know. Unshield. You got this, my brother. Thanks you. Thanks, bro. Yeah. We're fighting against this unfair institution. Every person that takes part in marriage normalizes it, thus contributing to the problem. While I do not support attacking individuals who make personal choices, I will go on the attack and fight against these people, then advocating marriage as a proper course of action. Furthermore, I've shown numerous times that our traditional views on gender, women as helpless baby factories and men as protective writers and self-sacrificers contribute greatly to the double standards and inequalities that hurt men. And obviously we can't. It's biological. We can't help ourselves. It's something you probably could say that. obviously, contribute greatly to the double standards and inequalities that hurt, and they contribute greatly to the double standards and inequalities that hurt men. Marriage and traditionalist advocates reinforce these beliefs that ultimately hurt men. The current system, by virtue of our cultural values and views of gender norms and gender roles, is harmful to men, exploitative of men. If you disagree, I ask that you please join the nearest feminist group and fight for women's rights where you belong. Because they too would argue wholeheartedly that our current traditional gender values do not exploit men.
MGTOW are radicals, just as bad as the feminists.
On the grounds of just as bad as the feminists have argued against your primitive, archaic values. And so do we. Maybe you are just like the feminists. Well, another way of looking at this, if both female advocates, feminists, and male advocates, MGTOW, can agree that some particular thing is harmful, then there's a pretty damn good chance that it is harmful. And Shinobi 1 says, I bet the ruling elite laugh at the common peasants are marrying. We literally buy or rent land from them. They see the whole world in its heaven and say, yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Seriously. When two opposing ideologies can agree on something, that something must have some pretty damn good merit. On the charge of MGTOW being radicals, yes, MGTOW have been the radicals of the men's movement since day one. Radicals are good. Okay? I could agree on that, but anyway. When men begin congregating on the internet and some of them begin bellyaching about women and feminists, this was hardly a legitimate human rights movement. This was hardly an ideology unto itself. At best, bellyaching shows me to believe in something other than the. Yeah, that's the lust. The lust. Yeah, exactly. That's taking the red pill. Taking the red pill, brother. Taking the red pill. When men began congregating on the internet and some of them began bellyaching about women and feminists, this was hardly a legitimate human rights movement. This was hardly an ideology unto itself. At best, bellyaching about uppity feminists was the byproduct of some other ideology. It would require radicals to form web forums, websites, organizations, and create an essential legitimate movement for men's rights. It took radicals to go from griping that feminism is wrong because some passage of the Bible says this, and about a woman's about a woman's role, to go from that to feminism is evil because it hurts men, and then to go from it hurts men's feelings to become it hurts men legally, financially, emotionally, morally. It took radicals to push us to that point. All progress in this movement has been the result of us radicals talking about things we weren't supposed to be talking about. And having these radical ideas slowly sink into the moderates until it became a normal part of the moderates' position. The radicals are the movers of the movement. Metaphorically speaking, anti-feminist is kindergarten, MRM is high school, MGTOW is college, and the track-on is the dropout burning academic books that don't agree with his faith. Another way of looking at this, you begin by noticing how vicious and mean the feminists are, and you object, and you are an anti-feminist who fights against feminism. You don't currently care about men. Then you realize men are actually disadvantaged in society, unequal, and you are a men's rights activist. You still don't care about men, but you are at least caring about justice. Then you finally get it. It all clicks. You have a greater understanding of the problem, and you see the gender paradigm itself as the problem in your MGTOW. And now you care about men. And then you have the trad con, sure, he bitches about feminism, But his faith deadlocks him into bitching about feminism. He refuses to move past kindergarten and attacks the more educated. He doesn't want to get left alone in kindergarten while the others move forward. He lashes out at the more educated. You need us radicals. The argument that the radicals chase people away, well, this is actually a good thing. Most people aren't kindergarten. They don't care about men. Sure, they need to complete kindergarten. And then he says, people like to throw the word movement around because it makes it easy to lump a bunch of things to stand into one basket. MGTOW comes from all walks of life. Exactly. Exactly, Shelby. But sure, they need to complete kindergarten in order to graduate on up as a new recruitment in time. But if they had any real conviction about fighting against the injustice and exploitation of men, they wouldn't run off. These people who are so content with the injustice that they only kind of sort of mildly bellyache about feminism due to feminist socialism and other miscellaneous crap. These are men who would have shut their mouths and turned on men's rights the moment some girl gave them the time of day. They were just cranky Republicans at best. Besides, you need us radicals, and we can't do our job by whispering and sugarcoating our words. MGTOW is the big boys of the classroom. We use harsh words and speak with adult subjects. And I wish there was a way we could segregate our words from the kindergarten class, but we can't. As for me being accused of being a radical, yes, I'm a radical, even within the radical MGTOW movement. I'm not sure why that is. I suspect many of our brothers bearing the name MGTOW do care about men, but mentally they're having a hard time getting past their disgruntled PUA phrase, or their butthurt Republican phrase that lead them to the high school they graduated from. I think many of them just don't get what MGTOW is. Others are just having a hard time coping with swallowing the red pill. And they aren't stuck in the bitch about women phase. I think they're just having a hard time adapting to life after red pill. And I do not make fun of them or look down on them. I believe in time they will adapt, they will progress, they will move forward, they will be strong. I think many of them are upset with women because they're stuck in that state of mind after seeing truth. And it's going to take them time to move forward. And maybe others are just more passive by nature and a little more gentle and relaxed. Dropping out of the game is their lifestyle. They are walking away a little more quiet. And I happen to be a passionate, vigorous person. Maybe a little more. So yes, I am radical. MGTOW rage the stage. MGTOW rage the stages. Yeah, but once you yeah, exactly. But when it comes time to get out of that red pill rage and into self-actualization, and once you get past that, that's when you begin to drop the label and start living. You drop the MGTOW label and start actually living that lifestyle. That's what it is. Anyways, so yes, I'm a radical. MGTOW is radical, and you need radicals.
It's pseudoscience. You have no documentation.
That phrase and other variations translates to all proclamations and theories of behavior that stray from generally accepted tropes require documentation and scientific evidence. No, they really don't need documentation. If I have a theory on why people do things, I do not need a shitload of scientific research to back up a theory. Furthermore, there aren't a whole lot of facts when it comes to human behavior. There's pop psychology research. There's no shortage of academic studies conducted by social justice warriors. There are studies performed by the psychology industry, an industry that gears towards maximizing revenue and pathologizing everything. Maximizing the revenue and pathologizing everything. So that industry, everything is a disease, and their pills and talk sessions can help everyone. Again, self-serving profit-motivated industry has progressively less reliable studies and conclusions on human behavior. Neurology studies on human behavior, which are as misleading as they are educating, while the brain is an organ that needs to be studied and is the organ responsible for our awareness and decision making, our ability to really understand cause and effect neurologically is very limited to anything outside motor function. What's more disturbing is the neurology institution tends to survive on grants gained by producing the most outrageous and shocking headlines about the newest behavioral study. Point is, most of what we know about human behavior comes from personal observation and speculation based on our own motivations. And the other part is observing everything we see through a cognitive bias of our cultural teachings. The traditionalist lives in a world of status quo. He lives in a world of commonly held beliefs. It challenges traditional conventions. We don't need documentation for every single thing we ponder, theorize, hypothesize, postulate, and speculate. Furthermore, the TRACAN has us at an advantage. It's easier to be the status quo than it is to challenge the status quo. It's easier to parrot traditional convention than it is to challenge it. See, we can't, Shinobi Swan says, see, we can't force the dropping of rage. It has to come from them exactly. We have to show them ways, give them tools, but in the end, it's all individual. Of course, and it's a lot of, that's the thing with a lot of these mass shooters, and when you look at it, they never, they swallow the red pill, they never, people, with men, they swallow the red pill, they never get out of that red pill rage, and of course, you're absolutely right. You need to teach these people coping mechanisms, because when you take that red pill rage, you now know what the truth is. You now know that everything you've been taught is all a lie. Our brains, our mind, always thinks from a past point of view, reacting to new situations from what has happened in the past. Yeah, exactly. Once you get past that, yeah, once you realize all the shit you went through, you just don't want to go through that shit again. And it's right there in your face. You're like, yeah, I've seen this shit happen multiple times. I don't want to go through this shit again. That's exactly right. Moving on.
You can use generalizations.
Yes, I can. Human beings generalize. It's how our brains function and how we learn. See my video on this? Yes, I can. Human beings generalize. It's how our brains function and how we learn. There are two kinds of people: those who generalize and those who generalize and insist others shouldn't. Shinobi one says, the truth always comes with sadness. Wisdom earned from pain and suffering. Depression is common among those who know it all. We must steel our mind and overcome this, that, and rage. Exactly. Exactly. Spot on. And that was spot on what you said. You can't generalize argument is a deflection. If someone generalized in a way you agreed with, all right. You can't generalize argument is a deflection. If someone generalized in a way you agreed with, you wouldn't object. It's when they generalize about something you disagree with, or generalize really. Really, bitch? Here's a generalization. All MGTOWs are dope. Oh, bitch, my stream is open. If you want to do that, stream is open. Still trolling? Let the trolls troll. trolls troll on. Well, let the trolls troll on. Hey, you get it. Hey, you get it. You get it. You don't. You don't. I really don't give a fuck. Carly Ellingson. Shit. Don't mind me. Good. Good. I don't mind. Fuck. Fuck it. I don't mind. I really don't. It's my but just remember, it's my channel. It's when they generalize negatively about something you want to defend, that you insist their argument is valid, because you can't generalize. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Same motherfuckers that don't get it. They don't get it, or they want. If they don't want to get it, they don't want to get it. Fine, whatever. I'm just waiting for life to. Just waiting for life, and it's gonna have to bite you in the ass. So, whatever. I don't care. It's really an extension. It's really an extension of, but not all blank are like that. Yeah, sure. I like to think not all women. Of course, I like to think not all of us are like that. I like to think that. Okay, my stream is open, lady. It's open. Stream is open. Come on in. Man, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting on you. I'm not decent. I'm not decent. True understanding comes at true understanding comes at cost, depending on how much you go about it. Can't handle truth. Can't handle truth. People can't handle truth. Some people can't handle truth. Some people can't handle truth. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. Well, you didn't do it because well, you don't understand it because da 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 da. And she's gone. Of course. I invited you into my stream. Hey, the stream is open. Come on in. I invited her into my shit. I invited her into my fucking stream so we can have a decent discussion, and she ducks out. Whoever this joker is, when she, I really don't give a fuck. But hey, this is the Spider 30. This is the Spider 32. I fight with facts and logic. I come with facts and logic. You can't handle it, then you can't handle it. If you can come up with something better, then fine. I agree with you on something. Hey, I agree with you. Challenge my idea. I'm begging for you to challenge my ideas. Hey, my stream is open. Come with something. But don't sit down here. Don't sit down here and fucking troll me. It causes too much common sense. Faction logic in the house. Yeah, exactly. Too much fucking common sense. Just, yeah, like I said, some people just can't fucking handle it. They get emotional and they get also fucking emotional and then they want to sit down here and duck out. So, fuck them. Take that to the fucking bank, I guess. All right, but in either case, let's begin. Let's continue.
Nawal, not all marriages are like that. Not all blank is like that. Just got to find the right one. Okay.
Okay. We didn't go over you. You can't generalize. This is a bad argument for the same reason. It's a hollow deflection. It's an argument that can be used right back at the track con. Not all marriages are good. Thus, marriage is bad. Not all women are good. Thus, women are bad. And you can't accuse MGTOW of anything because not all MGTOW are like that. It's not much of an argument. Again, it is what you say when you want to defend a position. But you can't argue. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever, Carly. Again, it's what you say when you want to defend a position. But can't argue. But can't argue the argument against your argument. It's a dismissal. It's a deflection, not an argument. But it also leads to just gotta find the right one. Because not all women and not all marriages are like that. Okay, look, the odds are against you. The game is rigged. There is no reason to support a rigged game. If the gambling game is rigged, boycott it. Others are operators of the game. Otherwise, the operators of the game have no reason not to rig it. Another way of looking at it, specifically the whole deal about you just have to find the right one. Because there are good women out there. Harley. Well, okay, yes. But let me try to show you the gravity of that situation. Stardust once said that finding the right one is like finding a needle in a parsec. Well, I don't know about all that. Let's just say there aren't a whole lot of good women. There aren't a whole lot of good women out there. And to add to that equation, realize your ability to determine a good woman from a bad woman is flawed. Add to that, women know how to put on a good act to get what they want. Add to that, people just change over time. The women who loved you with all her heart and soul would have taken a bullet for you. 15 years down the road might end up hating you. 15 years down the road might end up hating you so much that she wants to put a bullet in you. But whatever the math is on, I think people can find happiness in their goodness. Yeah, exactly. But whatever the math is on, finding the ever-elusive good woman. Whatever the math is on finding the ever-elusive good woman, look at it like this. If I were to be as generous as possible and really play devil's advocate and said 50% of women are good women and you just got to keep looking and weed out the bad ones and get yourself a good one, in spite of the fact nowhere near 50% of women are good women. So I'm gonna be generous and give you that. Okay then. Oh, we got 3. In a world where men and women are roughly equal, and only half the women on the planet are good women. Good women, actually. That this means only half of men out there are gonna find the right one. The other half are left with 2 options. Settling down with the wrong women and going MGTOW. Yeah, there are good. There are good men out there. To be honest with you, there are good women out there, and there are good men out there. I can say this with this. I can say the same. I can say the same about men. I can just fit. You said the same can be said about men. There are 50% of men out there that are good men, and you just gotta find the right one, or shit. I don't know. Well, that's whatever it is. Now Now realize that that number I gave you was generous. Nowhere near 50% of women are good enough. Nowhere near 50% of women are good enough people to be with for the long haul, worthy of being mothers. Hey, let's face it. Some women aren't meant to be. Some women aren't meant to be mothers, and some men aren't meant to be fathers. Well, let's put it this way: some people aren't meant to be parents. Period. In discussion. In any case, or can be trusted with the power given to them over you by marriage. So only a small percentage of men are going to find a decent woman to really improve the quality of his life. Most other men are just acting like desperate drug addicts, getting their fix any way they can and living the life of a pussy junkie. And let's not forget, marriage for a man should be rejected, not on the chances of failure, but on the principle of how unfair it is to men, and how unneeded a government contract in your personal life is. The fact that men will not stand up and protest marriage and give their own sex a better deal is a testament of how divided men are, and thus a testament of how bad MGTOW is needed. Not some track-con no bullshit. And this is that part right there is one of the reasons why men are killing themselves. We sit down here and push this shit, keep pushing this fucking bullshit over and over again, and you come to another realization that the shit doesn't fucking work. That's what happens. No one really. If I put a bullet in my fucking brain right now, who would really give a shit? And that's the thing. It's this whole man up bullshit. It does nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. You're sitting down here and trying to make shit work. It's insanity. But anyway, let's continue. I also want to add something I've stated numerous times. You cannot defeat the system so long as you're feeding into the system. You cannot fix the system so long as you're propagating its corruption. The Tradcons scapegoat feminism. You cannot fix the system by feeding it. And I also think it's amazing how certain types of Tradcons, through mostly just women worshippers in general, will tell us that because women are the gatekeepers of sex and babies, society will ultimately yield to them. This is normally stated in Give Up Fighting Against Women and Just Focus on Fighting Feminism type of defeatist message. Yet when men start to walk away from pussy in marriage, where is this style of pussy worshipping defeatist Tradcon tells us that because we're striking, we're in control. Us men have to steep criteria for a decent woman, just like how they have lust. Yeah, exactly. And the men's, where is this style of pussy worshipping defeatist Tradcon telling us that because we're striking, we're in control? Instead, we are told that we have a duty to cave into women or we'll go extinct. Men have a duty to keep up population, etc. Isn't that amazing? When women close their legs, they're in charge, and us men better bow to the women. When men go on strike, men better knock their shit off because their strike is going to have consequences for us all. No matter how you slice it, the message I hear is men better just shut up and do as women say. Fuck that bullshit. Fuck you and your mama too. Admittedly, it is a rare type of tradcon to perpetuate this rare argument. They're not exactly male feminists. They're not completely tradcons, but they are white knights and they're in the MRM. Exactly, Shinobi. People like that piss me off. Sorry, I swear to God, like people in the MRM piss me off too. A lot of them in that movie fucking piss me the hell off. The track content. This is probably one of the reasons why the men's rights movement won't succeed. Of course, you got a bunch of track. You got a bunch of fucking track guys disguising themselves. And they're currently lurking in that movement. Fucking disguise themselves. You. Oh, please. I really would pedestalize you, but no. Whatever. I really don't give a shit. But in any case, the TradCon argument that men have the duty to knock off their strike because there will be consequences to us all. That's common TradCon logic. You hear that with all their population panic. But it's an uncommon TradCon argument that women are in charge because they are the gatekeepers. I just find it ironic that all the responsibility to cave in and man up for the greater good of society all falls on men. You can tell MGTOW is the only pro-male philosophy because we're the only ones not holding double standards like that. The sort of double standards of women's choice, men's responsibility. This is the double standard found in feminism. And it is also found all through the traditionalist rhetoric.
MGTOW must not be against marriage or exclude married men from its ranks because MGTOW means doing whatever you want. No.
No. MGTOW is not doing whatever you want. Male feminists are men doing their own thing, doing whatever they want, but they are not MGTOW. MGTOW at its core a rejection of female supremacism, gynocentrism. A man marrying into a marriage contract is a man placing himself in a subservient position to a woman. There's a big market for whatever. He is giving his wife power over him. To make matters worse, if the man is in a traditional setup where he is supporting a woman, this is even more gynocentric. He is the worker bee supporting his queen bee and locked into a government-enforced contract that gives her power to keep it that way, if she wants, or for her to up and change the rules when she sees fit because she has the power of the horse on her side. Any man who understands this is a big one. It's money. For huge man's money, it can be tight. Whatever. Any man who understands this and then willfully enters into such an awesome display of gynocentrism, it's not being MGTOW. He's being the mainstream. He's conforming to the norm, the most gynocentric of norms. To say conforming like everyone else is doing your own thing. It's an oxymoron, anyhow. If the MGTOW community were to accept married men as MGTOW, and what separates the MGTOW MRA anti-feminist track in an everyday mainstream dead account? What up, Weber? Hey, what's up, dead account? Come on in. Willing slaves are willing. Of course, exactly. An everyday mainstream vanilla Republican. And if the MGTOW community were to accept married men as MGTOW, and what separates the MGTOW MRA anti-feminist track on an everyday mainstream vanilla Republican? Seems to me a MGTOW under those circumstances would just be an MRA. Would just be in. Seems to me It seems to me a MGTOW under those circumstances. It'd just be an MRA uttering silly, pretentious fluff talk about finding himself or some shit. If the marriage strike aspect of MGTOW is dropped, there really isn't much to find MGTOW. It just devolves into never-ending bellyaching about feminism. Okay, don't worry. I'm still doing stuff. It just devolves into never-ending bellyaching about feminism. It does not differ from anything else I mentioned. At least by rejecting marriage, there is at least a focal point reference. You can't say that MGTOW is rejecting gynocentrism, but if you get married and willingly submit to the ultimate in gynocentrism, then you're not really MGTOW. If we can accept a married man as MGTOW, then what are we even claiming a rejection of gynocentrism is? For a person to be MGTOW, they have to reject at least some aspect, some degree of gynocentrism. MGTOW do not insist that a MGTOW rejects sex, dating, and even friendships with females. Although some MGTOW do, where we insist you have little to do, because we insist you have to do a little something to reject it in your personal life. A line has to get drawn somewhere. Marriage is when the line is drawn, and I'm never gonna budge, on that. And I encourage my fellow MGTOW to also not budge on that. MGTOW is not a binary; it's a spectrum, and it has to have at least some immediate recognizable line drawn for the MGTOW community to determine if someone is or isn't MGTOW. This often brings up the nonsense about MGTOW being a cult, too ideologically pure. And forgive me. I think I'm the one that got that shit started. It's like a vegetarian eating steak and hamburgers on a weekly basis saying, I'm a vegetarian. I would have to ask, on what basis are you a vegetarian? Is it because sometimes while stuffing your face with pork, chicken, and beef to make sure to add a vegetable to your meat-based diet? Imagine having a meal with your vegan friends, stuffing your face with bacon and cheeseburger saying, imagine having a meal with your vegetarian friends, stuffing your face with a bacon cheeseburger, and saying, I'm with you guys, I'm a vegetarian for life. And one of your vegan friends says, you'd be more convincing if you weren't sputtering pork and beef in my direction while saying it. And retorting, oh my God, you people are a cult. It's that fucking stupid.
MGTOW are gender ideologues.
Let me just pull up the definition of ideologue. 1. An impractical idealist theorist. 2. An often blindly partisan advocate or adherent of a particular ideology. Well, let's start with the first one. Any group of people challenging the status quo, pushing for change, can be accused of being an impractical idealist. And the key word is change. The fear of change conservative loves to accuse people of ideologue based on the first definition because it's easy. It's easy to tell people who are pushing for change that their change is impractical. But you get to cling to the status quo and the status quo of yesterday, screaming, see, it was working once upon a time, we can do it again. I will, however, mention that people in 2014 yeah. Come on, I like celery. I don't know about you that account, but I like celery. You ever go to an Applebee's and they give you a what's it called, an appetizer? There's always like celery in the middle of the fucking plate. Don't chew on that bitch. You know, that's like one of the first things I chew on. That's what, you know. Ugh. I'll just have the celery, thanks. Moving on. I will, however, mention that people in 2014 wanting to return to a 19th century American style of marriage and family instead of a 2014 2014 environment for being impractical and being a practical idealist. You don't have a time machine believing that you can return to some traditional mode in this day and age. And they'll all just start working if we tweet our thumbs off at feminists and we just continue to fight communism. It's being impractical. Traditionalism doesn't work. Our situation is different. The market has changed. Women can support themselves every bit as good as men. And when they stay home, they are not acting like traditional 19th century housewives. They're acting like the 25-year-old son who won't get a job and move out or help out with the rent. But thinks mowing the lawn is earning his rent free. This doesn't work. You're supporting a stay-at-home free ride of a woman, and you're doing it for one of two reasons. Either you're doing it to comply with your right-wing conservative faith, or you're so desperate for pussy and female approval that you'll pay this woman like a prostitute to give her services to you. If you really want a traditional marriage, drop out and move to an Amish community, where your wife can milk cows and churn butter and beat carpets and hands by hand, etc. Go move to Iran, where the theocratic government holds a machine gun to your head and forcing men to be men and women to be women, and locking them into their traditional gender role. Oh, we got 4 in the building. Oh, mm-hmm. Well, the next part of that definition blindly advocates and adheres to a particular ideology. No, we don't do it blindly. We are aware that our ideology is not some one true path to utopia. We admit we don't have all the answers. We will have forever to figure them out as we move forward. We can't say for certain what the future is going to look like or how any given thing is going to turn out. We can't speculate, and be prepared to reevaluate and modify our stances. You track-ons, on the other hand, are fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself into thinking that there is a formula to weed out the bad women and to find the right one to marry. As if there's some bulletproof system that Rocky, Mr. E, and the Critical G come up with. You're the ones locking yourselves into contracts with your government marriage, placing yourself in a submissive position of being at the mercy of your wife the moment she gets tired of playing this traditional shit or gets tired of you. You're blindly marching into this contract because, hey, it's tradition, it's my male duty. You're the one insisting this day and age that women shouldn't be getting jobs. They should be stay-at-home baby factories. You got yourselves convinced that a working woman is a corporate whore. That women have got to dedicate themselves to motherhood. Lest humanity goes extinct. When people say sexual dimorphism to mean that men and women are hardwired, locked into certain roles with very narrow and inflexible definitions of masculinity and femininity. When people feed the exact divorce problem, the divorce outcome you bitch about, but scapegoat feminism for failed marriages rather than blaming marriage as a failed institution. You're the ones who say family and then define that as one precise model of family. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Exactly. You claim to care about men, all the while encouraging men as their duty to get married and place themselves in the most danger women can place them in. All because your right-wingism then says so. How's that for blind devotion to a particular ideology? You people have created this binary where everyone is hardcore right-wing conservative, everyone is a hardcore right-wing conservative, or insistently a leftist for not being pure enough. You people defend with great vigor at every aspect of your right-wingism. One critique that an individual is instantly a leftist, communist, Marxist, socialist, who doesn't warrior. How's that for blind, fanatical dedication to an ideology?
Bonus argument. MGTOW doesn't work.
There are many more arguments which effectively come down to the core argument: MGTOW doesn't work. In each one of those proclamations requires its own unique rebuttal. We all know the notion that it can't work. Just as a general statement, it's neither true nor false. It's not applicable. It's not applicable. It's not an applicable statement because work has never been clearly defined. MGTOW is not a system of government or a system of economics. MGTOW isn't even a MGTOW is not even it is not even really a political movement. Although MGTOW doesn't stray from gender politics. It's just isn't it just isn't it just isn't in and of itself a political movement. It's a philosophy. And for some, a spirituality. To say MGTOW doesn't work is to say Buddhism doesn't work. In what way? In what way? In what way does Buddhism not work? Are there Buddhists? Hasn't Buddhism been around for many, many generations? Hasn't it had an impact on the culture and thus the laws of Eastern countries? MGTOW is at its core a rejection of gynocentrism. It's just an idea. The idea is that men need to start valuing maleness rather than worshiping women. He needs to find worth from within and not seek it from women. A man needs to find completeness in himself and not seek completeness from women. It begins with acknowledging that men are vulnerable. They have a major weakness. A man's weakness is his need for sexual gratification and for female approval. Sometimes this approval comes in the form of the male saying, "That girl is pretty. I want to own her. I want to own her and own her prettiness." But this in reality translates to, "I want her approval to own her," which ultimately translates to, "I want her approval." A man wants to earn the approval of a woman so that he may own her, so that he can hold her up as a trophy of his worth. He is incomplete and completes himself by achieving worth vicariously through his trophy. This part of male psychology ultimately puts women in control of men. Men are weak. Women use and exploit that weakness. MGTOW holds that men should make efforts to be strong and not to be controlled by women. Men seek worth and judge others' men's worth by examining his trophy or the level of female approval in general that he gets. MGTOW says we should do what we can to ease back on that mentality. The goal of our MGTOW communities is not to create some immediate and forever sustainable future where no man ever has sexual desires for a woman. Our goal is to spread an awakening, an idea. That idea being that men should grovel a little bit less. Granted, that's an oversimplification. And as I said, it begins with men understanding themselves. Understanding that women have men on a leash. That leash is wrapped around our cocks, and we follow them wherever that takes us. Men are weak, and men need to do what they can to remove this control. Women laugh at MRAs and say, "You need us more than we need you," and the MRA immediately starts whipping out arguments such as men build everything, men's taxes, men fund this and that, and you need men to repair your broken appliances. Stop with the defensiveness. These cackling women who mock you are actually correct. Please stop with the defensiveness. These cackling women who mock you are actually correct. You do need them more than they need you. That's why you do need them more than they need you. That's why men continue to buy women movie tickets and pay for dinner just to get a date, and then buy her jewelry, and then every other thing she wants. Enter into a contract called marriage. Financially support a wife who may or may not even bother to have kids. Supporting her like she was a child. This is so embarrassing. Oh my brothers, how you humiliate yourselves, pussy begging and buying a woman's affection. This passage right here is one of the fucking reasons why the MRM will not succeed. Just that portion right there. It'll fall flat. That movement will fall flat on its ass. No. You are so desperate for sex and their approval, you are buying it. You are so weak, sad, pathetic, and desperate. And to make it worse, you will not admit this weakness. You instead manufacture convoluted nuclear family bullshit and argument from nature to defend your decisions born of weakness and vulnerability. How many men picked up their guitar as a boy, practiced it, with the number one driving force being, I bet this will make chicks really dig me, and if not, they'll want me when I'm a famous rock star. Look at how under the gynocentric power you are. Look how much women control your life. The pursuit of women has been your modus operandi. Men do need women a lot more than women need men. That's why it's so normal to see men financially supporting a woman, buying her affection, paying prostitutes for sex. Then you see women doing either one. My personal goal as a MGTOW is to spread this awareness to my fellow men. First, acknowledge this weakness, that women have you by the balls. Second step is to say to yourself, I wish it didn't have to be this way. That's it. Once you've done that, you've been awakened. All I want is a cultural awakening. Once we as a culture have accepted this, that's all we need for the wheels to be set in motion for a better, more fair, less misandrous future. The naysayers telling us that if there is gynocentrism, then it is nature. And you can no more fight nature than you can fight gravity. Give up. And to that I say, we fight gravity all the time. A plane does not defeat, as in destroy gravity. It merely fights against it. Every day that you get up and move around the house, you're fighting the eternal force of gravity. It's true that the weight of gravity is always there. You're bound to the internal laws of universal physics. Yet, interesting how we don't lay on the floor like a puddle of gel, completely defeated by gravity. We fight it in order to function. We don't need to make gynocentrism go away. We just need to fight it. And the fight begins with acknowledging it. And I think that's it. So yeah. I hope I got and take a look at this. You gotta balance it out. I have a girl and she's only like 15% of my life. The rest is work, studying, some YouTube and some playtime to live. Exactly. And that's exactly what I said in this this criticism. But I've read on long enough. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. It's just a spider 30. No, I mean, I hope. Yeah, that's going to do it for me. The Spider 32. I hope I'll manage to enlighten some people about the criticisms of MGTOW. And I hope I made you think about it for a minute. But I gotta go. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Like I said, yeah, we get it, Carly Ellison. Have a good day, bro. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you. Spider 32, and I believe I'm done here. And peace out. So I have a little music.
Trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, she musters a smile for his nostalgic tale. Never coming near
apology. Anybody else would surely know. Watching my goal. He can still believe there's a place in my life. Someday, she will return. She had a place in his life. He never made nothing. As she rises to your apology, anybody else would surely know. Watching her go. She's